Welcome, everybody, to the 2022 United States Disc Golf Championship press conference. We are a day away from the tournament starting. Kicking off the press conference, we are starting with a bang. We have Paul McBeth here in the clubhouse. Paul, you said on Monday you had not yet seen a lot of the changes fully, and there's quite a few out here. A lot of iconic holes have been either taken out or changed, and what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every year it's something different to where the ones that we did change, for example, 3 is one where I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do, how I want to attack it. So after this, I'm going to go head out, look at that hole specifically, and figure out if I want to go long and try to push it or play it short and then take a longer second shot. And I feel like someone else pointed that out yesterday too. Is like, this is a second shot kind of course. You know, these par 4s, you want to get to your placement and then you really got to attack from there. So I feel like that's how I'm really looking at some of these new holes especially.
I actually want to dive into hole 3. That was a question that I had specifically. Obviously, combining hole 3 and hole 4 together, in theory, great looking hole. Tee shot looks very challenging. We have the Guardian tree that originally framed up hole 4's tee shot, now still coming into play for the tee shot on hole number 3. What does that do to the tee shot? It doesn't look like you can actually push a distance driver out the exact distance you want.
Yeah, and they really didn't trim up that left side too much to really get you attacking that landing zone, which used to be 4's landing zone. So I feel like they're kind of pushing us a little bit right further back the path, further back on the fairway over there, to where I kind of just had the thought today, what if I just pitch a fairway down there and throw a roller? So I did that this morning. It seemed like it worked out well, but I want to get out there and try it again because I know I could just mash one out there and just probably just take a par, but not really getting to the position I'm comfortable with yet.
Question about just this tournament in general. You said there's something new every single year, and is it something that you just have to kind of turn your brain off and just accept and have to adjust year after year, or is it something that you enjoy or dislike about this tournament?
I think that's something that's unique about it, is they're always experimenting with this one, always trying to find the next new thing, and they do make small tweaks as well. Like hole 5, they moved the basket maybe 20 feet from where it used to be, but now it's significantly harder, from the green to the upshot to all over. They're adding these new challenges, but I do sometimes people think it's like fluky or just kind of almost like a circus, but they have a purpose for it, and sometimes we just have to be patient and wait for that to show itself, but not all of us are patient.
Would you agree that a lot of the stuff that's been invented at the USDGC has been applied in other forms elsewhere on the tour over the years?
Definitely some way. I think, almost the Circle 1 or the bullseye was actually, I think, a weird idea that Innova had back in the day, but now it's actually implemented in a good way. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of things that are experimented and then utilized. Stroke and distance was a big one, and now it seems to be used on quite a few courses on certain holes more specifically, but I mean, as long as we still have USDGC here, I think it's always going to be something new that we get to challenge ourselves with.
Well, we have an extremely strong field playing here this week. One of the strongest fields ever. If we look over the statistics and the numbers this season, I hate to make you play a guessing game, but what do you think a hot round is going to be, and what do you think you're going to have to shoot round after round here?
I have no clue for a hot round. I think for me a goal is probably somewhere around 9 depending on the wind. I think I mentioned that on Monday. 3 on the front, 6 on the back is probably ideal for me with a lot of bonus birdies and things like that. Like 5 is so much harder to get the birdie, I feel like, but I think that's going to bring more pars into play because of where it's put. And now 3, I have no clue. 3, I have no clue. I'm going to go out there, see if a birdie is even possible for me or if I just have to play it for par every round. So pretty conservative, but I mean, with the players out here, someone could get hot in double digits pretty easily.
Most definitely, and good luck this week, Paul.
Thank you.
Hi, Paul.
Hello.
So you are the defending champion of the United States Men's Championship here. 3 titles, and you're also the 6-time world champion. What does it mean to you, being considered the GOAT, or the greatest of all time in our sport, what does it mean to break that title record that Ken Climo has of 5 here, and then potentially the most winning man in the sport's history?
Yeah, I think I need one more to tie him for majors. Right now here at the USDGC, I have some streak of every 3 years I seem to win this one, so I need to break that streak. I need there's a couple things I need to break this week or tie at least. But I don't know. I feel like I'm still so young in my career that to be at this point at 32 that I don't even want. I don't know. I want to be so far ahead at the end of it.
That's a great answer, because I think that a lot of the times in our press or our media, we want to know how focused is Paul McBeth on setting his solidified history records in our books, being the most winning man, and how important that really is.
I mean, it means a lot, and it's something I think I've always told myself that I'll look back on when I'm done playing. Right now, I just want to see the tournament ahead of me, in front of me, and just kind of show up each week and with the same goal of I want to go out there to win. Because I think that's kind of when I will stop playing or take a different role, is when I show up to a tournament I feel like I'm not playing for first. So right now that's where my head is. I want to win or I'll be done.
That is very motivating, and thank you for that honesty. Good luck this week at U.S. Championships.
Thank you.
Hey, Paul, looking back at last year, you showed a lot of emotion when that final putt dropped, and most people would agree a little bit more emotion than you typically show on the course. Is there a specific reason why you felt that much emotion about that particular victory last year?
Yeah, I think there was multiple things. I think the biggest one was how James won Worlds earlier that year. So I went into a playoff for Worlds, and he threw that holy shot in on 18 and then won it in the playoff. This one, 17, we were having some mishaps with the score, so I didn't really know the position I was at, and I just kind of said, whatever, I need to run this. I don't care. You know, I was like 60 or 70 feet away from the basket on the island green, and I was like, I need to send this, and made that one. So I was pumped there because I knew if I birdied 18, even if the scores were where we thought they were at the time, I would still win because I finished birdie. So then I parred 18, missed the putt, went for it, and then went to another playoff. So 2 majors last year, 2 playoffs, and yeah, it was just emotional. You know, that roller coaster from 17 all the way to the playoff. It just built up, and then the struggles I had throughout the round as well. Those were building up. So it was just a lot building up throughout the year, and on those final holes as well.
Just one more question to maybe help our viewers get into the psyche of a pro athlete like yourself. When you're playing this course, knowing that the vast majority of it remains fairly similar from year to year, are you thinking certain holes are must get and you have to birdie those holes in order to stay in contention? And if so, which holes are they?
I don't know if there is a must get birdie out on this course. There are some that are definitely easier than others, but I think hitting the gap on one is a must do. Whether you get the birdie or not, that tree's laid down there now, so it's a little bit harder to carry over it, to where if that log wasn't there, it would be a must get. But realistically, there isn't a must get on this course. So I think that's where the patience and just being able to take your pars and accept them when they come, and your bogeys as well, they're going to happen. Just being able to accept those and don't force anything. It's so hard to not force a shot on this course because you can see almost every basket and know I can reach that, but should I really go for that? Should I really carry that water? Should I really try to attack the A pin on hole 17? So there's all sorts of these little things on this course that I think mentally can really pull someone down.
Among those distractions, like the geese honking in the background right now, is that an extra challenge here at the Winthrop Arena?
The geese?
No, the distractions.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it definitely can be. I think we learn how to play with it throughout the year. But we're at a sports complex, so there's noise everywhere. You know, it's not like we're the only ones out here at the sports complex. You know, the vendors, the amount of fans that show up to this, like there are going to be noises. You're going to see visually people walking, but you need to find that zone and play through it because it is going to happen. It's just when is it going to happen?
All right, just one more for you, Paul.
Yep.
So Paul, before the MVP Open, Ricky made some comments about the world champion not necessarily being the best player, and that it's like the player who wins the most throughout the year or wins the most majors or whatever. Is there any added motivation coming into this event to be a 2-time major champion this year, probably locking down all the player of the year votes at the end of the year? Is there any added motivation after hearing Ricky's comments?
Yeah, I don't know what the question was that was asked to him to make him say that, because I think, you know, I think he hasn't won a major in a couple of years, so that is kind of something to where if he hung his hat on majors, it'd be he would not be too happy, for the last couple of years. But he has been very consistent through the years. He's been very consistent with the points. He's won points last year, won points this year. But we don't have a perfect system for points yet. Those are just the Disc Golf Pro Tour points. Those aren't the PDGA points, to where I think for PDGA points, the more you play, the more points you're going to get. And then Player of the Year, it's a little bit different calculations as well. So whoever wins DGPT points isn't necessarily going to win PDGA Player of the Year, which, if you look at both of those, it's a little different. I think, well, he did win DGPT points, but I think I'm winning Player of the Year points right now, just because all the majors are calculated, not just one or two, like DGPT has. So I think that's what's keeping him motivated right now, and that's kind of what he needs to go and attack these majors. I feel like is to pump himself up in some way, and I think that's what a lot of athletes have to do, is they got to find their thing and keep pushing, because I think every one of us hits like a flat point at some point, at some part. So we need to find something that'll motivate us and push us.
And I mean, on how do you think we should determine the best, not necessarily the Player of the Year, but who's the best player in the world?
I mean, I think it's finishes overall. I think right now, I'll just say the media tends to favor a lot of who wins, rather than, hey, this person took second at 10 events, but they only won one, versus someone that won 4 and maybe took outside the top 5 or 10 the rest of the year. So it's, for these points, it is very consistency based right now, and I think that's how it will be. But I also don't think at the same time the wins are weighted as heavy as they could be, because it is challenging to win. So I don't think there's a perfect system yet, but I think there's definitely people working on it.
Cool. Thanks, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome back, everybody. We're joined here in the clubhouse by the defending champion, Missy Ganon. Missy, you mentioned yesterday that you had not quite seen all of the changes that have happened at this course, and I'm curious, after some practice, what are your thoughts right now, and how do you feel about your game plan?
I really like the changes. I think my assessment of hole 3 in my mind kind of worked out. I am able to throw it a little bit farther than I initially thought that I would, but it's going to be fun. It's a challenging course. The wind's going to be a factor, and yeah, OB is always a big thing out here.
So let's talk about the OB. Kind of a new change to the out of bounds. Instead of the white stakes or the yellow rope, we have these rocks that are lining the fairway, and we have some white rope. It's hard to see unless you walk up to it. The real difference is the rocks being lining the fairway, and then the grass being taller than the fairway. What do you think about that? Is it easy to see where inbounds is?
Yeah, for me, it's been visually pretty easy. You know, if you're not anywhere near the rocks, you're going to be fine, because the rocks are actually set like a foot back from the string. But I do like the fact that they've kept the grass a little bit taller in those sections too. It's pretty well defined. Right where the tall grass starts is where the out of bounds or hazard starts. So for me, it's been pretty easy to stay clear of the tall grass.
Let's talk about maneuvering this course. A lot of players say there's a pretty good mix out here. You throw some technical shots. There's some options for rollers. There's some options for forehand, backhand. You're known as a player that's very meticulous and set in your game plan. Do you feel like there's a lot of room for aggression out here? How are you attacking?
Yes. You know, a disciplined aggression. I don't know if that's a thing, but that's how I feel when I'm playing this course. You know, I know when to kind of dial it back. But as long as I have a solid game plan for all of my tee shots, I kind of just have to, you know, play with my instincts from there, because, you know, with the, like I said, with the wind and things like that, you may not always throw the exact shot that you planned to or wanted to. So I'm just going to have a really solid game plan off the tee, and then go from there and decide whether or not I'm going to be aggressive or disciplined.
Fantastic. Well, I'll send it over to Zoe right now.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Missy.
Hello.
It's pretty nice weather I'm noticing out here at Rock Hill. You mentioned just a moment ago with Brian the wind conditions and how they can affect everything. The weather report looks pretty good this week, so I do believe it's the game plan that's going to make the difference. And touching right off of the aggressive, or what did you call
Disciplined.
it? Disciplined, aggressive, play. So there are some tee shots that are complete risk reward here.
Yeah.
I can think of two specifically, or maybe three off the top of my head, where you're either driving for the pin or you are driving for the par position.
Yep.
Do you know if you're going to be playing more aggressive in round one? Will it change from round 1 to 4? Go ahead and talk about that.
think that, for instance, I think hole 9 is like a 360-foot, but it's a par 4. So there are a lot of players that I think will run for the green on that one. It's a really tight green, but I'm not going to do that. You know, I know you can. I think you can either re-tee if you go B or go to the drop zone, and so it's going to be an easy par if you do go for the green. But it's a really easy birdie, so if you play it safer. So that's what my plan is. And then I think hole 10 is another one where that's completely in my wheelhouse, definitely going for the birdie on that one. But other than that, yeah, you know, I think I throw 6 or 7 discs off the tee on this course, so it's a really simple game plan, and it's yielded me a lot of birdies in practice. So hopefully I can you know, get the birdies when I can. I know the mistakes are going to happen, but yeah, just try to play clean and do what I do best, putt well.
Well, and thank you for mentioning really truly how many different discs you're playing with out here. It's a matter of hitting your angle and hitting your line with your most prized disc choice.
That's
but
right.
Let's move on to some of the really positive memories here last year. You were the winner of this event. Obviously, winning any amazing title at a prestigious course like this feels great, but it seemingly propelled you to the win for the Tour Championships. A completely different style, of course. How does one translate, first of all, the play style between courses, and then take that momentum to then move into the Tour Championships being such a different event?
Yeah, you know, I still don't really know how I did what I did at the end of last year. It's just like, I don't know, it's still like so surreal to think about. And I think because of how prestigious and historical this event is, you know, it just sort of was like blown up into such a, you know, momentous win for me. And in reality, I'm like, I won an A tier, you know, that's awesome. But it was also because it was at Winthrop is why it made it feel like, I mean, a lot of people were confused. They thought I was a major champion, you know, because we had had a major here just the year before, I think. And I feel like I'm always just a little bit late, you know. I win Led's Show in a few years after Worlds was there. I win this a year after the major was here. So, yeah, it's funny, but I'm not sure. I love the open courses, throwing hyzers, but I really love the woods. So I don't know. I think it was just a couple of good courses that set up well for me at the end of last year.
And peaking in your performance at the right time. So that's the perfect window for my last question here. Thinking about the fact that this is such a big feeling to win here, what would your thoughts or opinions just simply be if the U.S. Women's Championship was permanently brought here?
I think it's great. I think that would be a great idea. I think that all we've ever asked for is for consistency with the U.S. Women's event. You know, I think that we would love to have a similar opportunity that the men have, to know that they're coming to this major every single year at the same venue with some changes, but for the most part, the feel and the environment are all the same. Yeah, I think a lot of us would agree that would be a great choice. And so if logistically it would make sense, then I would strongly recommend them taking that into consideration.
Well, thank you for your thoughts and sharing, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Hi, Missy.
Hi.
It's been talked about how strongly you closed last season. A lot of players by this time in the year talk about fatigue and burnout. You obviously overcame that last year. Has this year set up much the same? Has this year been more of a challenge or less of a challenge? And either way, do you feel strong right now going into the last couple events?
Yeah, I feel great. You know, I think I mentioned this Monday where a lot of people feel burnt out. A lot of people are really excited to just have the time off and be in the off season. But for me, these last two events are, you know, you have to qualify for. And there are a lot of women that would love to be in my position to be able to compete at these last two events. And so I'm never going to take these two last events for granted. And I'm always going to work hard until the end and really just, you know, be honored to compete at this level at these last two qualifying events. And so hopefully that's a leg up in my court.
We've already talked a lot about the changes to the course this year. When you go back in the memory bank to your victory last year, do you remember specifically, for lack of a better way to say it, why you won? What part of your game was really working that week? Can you rely on those memories for this week?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the name of the game out here is to keep it in bounds. You know, the birdies are going to come, but you have to play smart, and you have to throw the discs that you trust the most. And luckily, I have a lot of my go-tos still in my bag. A lot of people, you know, lose them throughout the year, but thankfully I've avoided that. And so I'm just going to take that the memory of just breathing and relaxing and just taking every hole and shot, you know, as they come, and try not to get too far ahead of myself. I think that was really the key for me last year. I stayed in the moment for every single shot, and that's what I plan to do this weekend.
Good stuff. Thank you, Missy.
Thank you.
Missy, you talked about the added distance that you've added this year. I think we first started noticing it around like D-Glow, where it was like we don't think of you as a distance thrower, and all of a sudden you're reaching these holes that, you know, you're not usually reaching. Where did that distance come from? Was it like a concerted like effort, or was it just like you're throwing a million discs and now you just got stronger?
I think it's you know, I think I just, over time, your timing kind of gets better. You know, it's something you can practice over and over again, but just playing so much, and then also just, you know, learning and knowing all of the angles of my go-to drivers. I think just a combination of those two things has it surprises me sometimes. You know, I threw hole 11 at MVP. I threw it like 430 feet, you know, way past all of the pine trees, which I typically struggled, you know, passing in the past. And so I don't know, it's still kind of a work in progress, but I think it's just the confidence and just, you know, putting that power behind the discs and trusting that they're going to, you know, fly the way that I want them to.
And is there any like specific place like where are the specific places here where you're like, oh, I can do this now, where you couldn't maybe get those holes before?
Yeah, well, I was hoping it would be hole 9 going for the green on that one, but I'm still just a little bit too short on on that one to get the potential eagle. But maybe hole 3, initially I thought I would just be able to get, just past that one little OB patch in the middle, but I'm getting quite a bit farther in front of that, so that makes my second shot a bit easier, and it's definitely a really attackable and gettable birdie for me on hole 3. So yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of holes that the distance has been really, really helpful, but at the end of the day, if you just keep it in bounds, a lot of these holes are pretty scoreable.
Well, yeah, and that's where I was going to go next, is like, for some players having that much power, like we see Paige, sometimes it's like almost harder when you have that much power.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that, like, coming back where it's like, oh gosh, I have to dial this in now, where I could have just thrown full power before, and it's actually more difficult?
Actually, no, not yet. At least on this course, it seemed that my distance is pretty prime for a lot of these tee shots. So yeah, it's been kind of a nice, a nice realization, and maybe instead of throwing like a flex line, I can now throw like a power hyzer. So that's actually my preferred shot. So it's nice to be able to lean on the power hyzer more out here than previous years.
Awesome. And one last thing, like, what would it mean to you to repeat here at this like kind of pretty famous venue? I think this win last year kind of like kicked off a pretty cool 2-week stretch for you. Like, what would it mean to repeat here specifically?
I mean, it would be awesome. I think to repeat at all nowadays is like huge. But if it were to happen here at Winthrop, I think that it would just be like, a dream come true. So yeah, maybe we can make that happen this week.
Hey, Missy, I want to follow up actually on somewhere in the neighborhood of what Mo was just asking you about, which is over the last few years, we've seen our top-level courses and events really try to appropriately challenge our competitors when it comes to the FPO field, whether that's tees or pin placements. So my question to you is, does this course do that? Do you feel like it appropriately challenges the FPO division with the way it's laid out?
I think so. I think that there's enough, it feels like an open course, but there are enough shots that still require you to, throw a really controlled tee shot or approach shot just because of the OB. So, I think that it's nice that there's a mix of the roped OB and then the water, and I don't know. I think it even just looking at the scores last year, it kind of shocked me that I won with I don't even remember my score, but it wasn't very low.
Well, and that was going to maybe lead to my final question, which is exactly that. You won. You were the only woman under par. You shot 2 under.
Yeah.
Finishing runner-up to you was Kona Panis, and she shot even. So, again, it's a similar question in that. Do we care about what under par you are, what the winner is at the end of the week, and how does that reflect for our sport and the division?
Honestly, I think my score last year shocked me more because I'm pretty sure the year before it was like 20 under par or something. I don't know what the changes were, or if there were even that many changes that made the scoring so extremely different. Like, I think we've always dealt with some sort of round that had bad conditions or something in the last few years, but that, I don't know, it blew my mind that the scores were so extremely different than the year before. So I don't know if, it's maybe, I don't know. I think this course can either be, you're shredding it, or you're just tanking it.
Or you're being shredded.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, that's Missy Ganon trying to defend her title. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Now, Jonathan Poole, co-founder of USDGC and, of course, the event director. Jonathan, can you tell us just your assessment right now of how this event has grown over the years and what its state is right now in the overall disc golf world?
Well, I mean, it's obviously grown exponentially over 24 years. I mean, the opportunity to keep it here year after year and learn and get better, figure things out. And also, you know, our staff, I think that's one area that really sets us apart, with more than 150 people working out here on a single course. And, you know, I don't know how that compares exactly to all of the other events out there, but we're pretty proud of our team and what we've built and what we're prepared to do here this week.
Tell us a little bit about the philosophy or the strategy behind the changes that are made year over year to the course, and in particular the changes that were made this year to the course.
I think they're always innovating. I mean, that really starts with Harold Duvall. He was the original, you know, he's the other co-founder and the original course designer, and you know, one of the great course designers, in my opinion, of all time. I mean, he really applies himself to that craft and has passed a lot of that onto his son, Andrew Duvall, now. But, you know, you're always looking to make sure that you're providing the very best challenge and the most fair challenge to the best players in the world, as well as everybody else that's here this week. And so one of the big things this year was the rocks, the addition of the rocks that kind of help frame the edges of the fairways and the OB areas. Our hope there is that it will be even more clear, not just to fans here and to players, but also fans watching from home, exactly what is a good shot, a great shot, or maybe not either of those. But just to make it a little more easy to identify.
Can you name any other specific reasons behind changes to some of the holes? For example, the combination of hole 3 and hole 4, was that in response to how players have been playing, maybe a feeling of things getting stale, or was that just an idea that you had and thought this is the time to give it a shot?
I think some of it was we wanted to improve 2, and shortening that up to a par 3, we wanted to pick up that stroke, and so we gained, you know, the par 4. And cool story there, that was the original Gold Course sort of beta hole when it was just an idea. We had a safari loop that we played out here, and we would, when we finished the lake course, we would go to that tee and play from 3 to hole 4's pin. So it's kind of neat to see that hole actually being played in competition for the first time. The other part of it is hole 4 was just not fan friendly. I mean, it was a great hole, it was a unique hole, but it was almost a throwaway for spectators because they can't access the tee. You couldn't, you know, everybody couldn't see when the shot was going to come out of the chute, and then you couldn't really get over to the green. So it was one of the weaker holes in terms of the fan experience. So I think now to watch shots just soar off that tee is going to be way more exciting.
Great stuff. Thank you, Jonathan.
Good afternoon, Jonathan. How are you doing today?
Awesome.
And congratulations that we're finally here at this event and
Thank
that it's
you.
the week of everything amazing happening at the prestigious USDGC and Throw Pink. So first of all, Throw Pink has only been an added part of this for a couple of years. And can we talk about that, the decision to add the women's division, and will it stay?
That's the plan. You know, we were super excited in 2020 to be able to host the Women's National Championship, or to bring that back. It had been since 2000 since that had happened. But with the cancellation of the U.S. Women's, it kind of opened the door for us to get, you know, a true FPO division back out here. We loved it. The ladies loved it. And before that week was even over, we decided that we want to continue to make this happen. And it's not as simple as just adding an FPO division, because we would essentially be crowning 2 U.S. Women's champions in FPO in the same year. So we just decided it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We love us some Sarah Nicholson, and so we decided to kind of partner with her and create what, in my opinion, is a showcase event of the best women in the world, competing for all the women who have or are, struggle with, or their families who struggle with breast cancer.
Well, thank you for shedding that light. And just to add my follow-up question to that, there has been talk amongst the tour and amongst the players that this could be the next U.S. Women's Championship to potentially stay. Can you answer to that question?
I mean, we want to be in the mix. I mean, it was going to be part of the conversation. You know, we want it to go where it makes the most sense, you know, for the ladies and for all of the, all of the parties involved. But, we certainly believe in women's disc golf. It was incredible experience to be a caddy at U.S. Women's this year and to see 1,000 people in a gallery for for an all-women event. So I think the potential is there, to soar to even greater heights. And so we just want to be able to contribute to the conversation. And if it looks like it lands here and we need to step up and run that, we're more than happy to do it. If it means supporting another host club or town, we'll do that too.
All right, well, let's take it just a couple steps back. Jonathan, can you tell us all when you found disc golf? Can you say how old you were or how many years ago that was, please?
Well, it was in Charlotte. It was 1993. I just went to some buddies of mine that I'd gone to high school with and saw a few golf discs laid on the floor. I was like, yeah, what's up with that? Because I love playing, throwing Frisbee. And they told me. And so we grabbed an orange Shark and we took it out in the little compound at this condominium, complex and started throwing it back and forth. And they told me about Reedy Creek Park in Charlotte. And I didn't take any of those golf discs, but I went and grabbed my big Whammo 165 and went to Reedy Creek and fell in love. And I'm still in love.
And when was it that you decided you wanted to actually work the sport of disc golf professionally, bring the professionalism to the game?
I started in 94, so 94, 5, 6, 7 was kind of my stretch, competing and traveling, not touring, but traveling and playing. I started to work with Innova in January of 97, and throughout that year, it became very difficult to do both. Because we were growing quickly. We ran the World Championships here in 97. And, so I just landed in a really good spot to learn a lot about not just the disc golf industry, but the movers and shakers who are running these big events. And I just thought, I can't beat Ken. Nobody's beating Ken. And even if you were beating Ken, it wasn't a way to make a living at the time. And I thought, I'm going to carve out a different niche. And I just wanted to create the best possible event that we could, and here we are 24 years later still doing it.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jonathan. Our sport deserves to have the kind of attention that you're putting into it, and on behalf of the players and all of the people here this weekend, we appreciate you and your staff. And here's
Thank
Brian.
You.
How's it going, Jonathan?
Awesome.
First off, I wanted to say thank you yesterday for participating in the roundtable discussion, which all you watching at home, if you haven't seen that yet, it is on DGN. Me, Barry Schultz, Juliana Corver, and Jonathan sat down to talk about the history of the USDGC and dive into some deeper discussions. We talked a lot about the course design. We talked a lot about the changes that have been made over time. Something that I'm curious, especially for you, that's had to watch this property stretch out over a 24-year span as the play styles of the players have changed and as the disc technology has changed. What is challenging? What do you do to make a course challenging nowadays for the best disc golfers in the world?
I think that's why you see a lot of change. You have to be willing to break from some of the traditions, and that creates a lot of pushback from the players, and I understand that. But we really don't have much of a choice but to try new things. And so, I get wanting to come back and play the same holes that we watched Ken and Barry play their epic playoff on. But it wouldn't be the same. The technology has changed. The distances that players are throwing has changed, and so you have to tweak things a little bit. And like as I said on the roundtable, Harold Duvall and Andrew Duvall are probably the better ones to ask a little bit more about the psychology behind some of the holes and what they're trying to get you to do. But it's a test that they take very seriously, preparing the test for others to take. They take that very seriously. They watch a lot of live coverage, and you're just taking cues from other events. And we go back and we have an unbelievable database of statistics over decades here that we go and look back at too, and just kind of sort of see where we can make improvements.
Another question I have, and again, you might defer to Harold again, just because he is the one that truly goes into the design, but I just wanted to hear from you. How much more can we squeeze out of Winthrop? How much more can you squeeze out of this facility? Do you feel like there's a lot more space to keep improving the challenge out here?
Well, at this point, it's a great question. At this point, we have to check the event boxes as well. It's one thing to have a great tournament, but it's an entirely different animal to be able to accommodate 4,000 or 5,000 spectators and get everybody in and out safely on a university's campus, who obviously takes safety and security very seriously. At this point, though, we take over the entire complex. So we, for these 10 days, we run the traffic and control and parking for every. There's 6 different collegiate events going on this week and a softball tournament, and we handle all that. But we've got the golf course that we could grow into, so we could move deeper into the property and pick up some of that land if we wanted. So there's still room, but it's a balancing act between moving into some of those areas and moving away from some of the traditional iconic holes out here that people know and love.
Last question from me. Talk about the relationship between your staff, you, and the university. Is it something where it's kind of a battle every year to kind of talk about different details with the university, or at this point have they kind of given you free reign over the property?
It's pretty close to free reign. They're fantastic hosts, and they trust us. I mean, we've built a great rapport, so they trust us, as I mentioned, not just to run a disc golf tournament, but to manage this facility, and to hire the people that we need to help make sure that is done well. So, there isn't another event like this on campus. It's a one-of-a-kind thing. They've embraced it from the president's office, throughout their entire chain of command, and so, we just couldn't be in a better spot from that standpoint.
Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for joining us. And again, thank you for joining me yesterday.
You got it.
Make sure to check out that roundtable discussion for all you viewers at home who have not watched it yet. And enjoy the rest of this week once the tournament starts, Jonathan.
Thank you very much.
So Colt Montgomery yesterday, or on Monday, failed to qualify for USDGC. He went to Instagram and posted that this event used to feel prestigious, but nowadays it feels like but it just feels like a gimmick nowadays. Best of luck to everyone competing. What's your response to that from Colton?
Well, I mean, certainly, deserves his own opinion. I would think that a lot of that's probably frustration of not making it in. That's Heartbreak City to not make it into an event that has been revered to the extent that it has over all these years. But that's the opinion's not new. I think that's that kind of response has been very common over the years. From very early on, as we've tested new things to push their abilities and put them to the finest test. So. It's not new. Doesn't really bother me or our team. Would love to have seen him get in, but I got to imagine at least some of that has to do with just the disappointment of grinding so hard out here and just not quite getting it done. So maybe a little bit of both.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan.
You got it.
Welcome back, everybody. We're joined here by Kyle Klein, last year's runner-up and nearly champion of the event. Kyle, how are you feeling right now?
I'm doing good. Game's feeling good. Just kind of ready to get this week underway.
You seem to always have a surge of confidence and energy late in the season, and you've given us quite a bit of shows here in Charlotte, Rock Hill, and obviously last year you almost won the tournament, lost the playoff to Paul on the first hole. How are you feeling about your game this year, and what's your mindset going into this week?
I mean, the drives are feeling better than ever. I feel like as long as I can keep my short game clean, I think I should have a good chance of repeating my performance from last year, if not one-upping it.
Hey, Kyle, I want to ask you a question about the experience after last year's tournament. It was something of a coming out party for you, and then you went into this entire season as somebody that fans knew. What can you tell us about how you've learned from that experience through this season, how you've grown as a professional athlete during the 2022 campaign?
Yeah, I feel like last year at this tournament was like it was kind of like an eye-opener and kind of like a big learning experience as to, at least for me, I didn't have a great first round, and I kind of got down on myself, but then I looked back after the tournament and realized that it doesn't really matter. As long as you come back with 3 strong rounds after that, you're not out of anything. So I kind of taken that mindset into the rest of the tournaments this year.
Do you feel like you were able to draw from any specifics, like dealing with larger crowds as you had last year during the closing rounds? Is that something that just takes time and experience, or?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Just kind of like you said, getting used to like larger crowds and whatnot. I mean, I don't think I've played in front of too big of a crowd this year. I haven't really been on many lead cards, but I definitely think there's more to come.
Has it gotten old yet, being asked for your signature?
No, not at all.
Hey, Kyle, how you doing today?
Good.
I have to ask on a fresh observation. Is that a new haircut?
It is.
Do you think that makes you more aerodynamic for this weekend?
I mean, I sure hope so.
All right, but in all seriousness, Kyle, you were second place, as we have talked about, in this event last year. You went into the playoff, lost to Paul, but you've been in contention for the podium or the win many years at this event. Have you had enough practice this week, and do you feel like you've got a solid enough practice plan to finally take this one down?
I definitely think so. I have one more left today to play, and then I think I'll be definitely locked in and ready to make a run.
One more left today. Can you tell us which hole?
I mean, one more round today, but I think the only hole I'm really questioning is hole 14.
All right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of options on that hole for me. I just got to dial in which one is the most consistent.
Well, good luck this weekend. I know a lot of fans out there are cheering to see you on top of that podium.
Thank you.
We've got Terry Miller here.
Hey, Kyle, real quick for you. Last year, your dad was here. He was on the bag, and obviously we saw the success that you had. What's the game plan this year? Is he down here? We've seen him attend big events, and will
yeah,
be on the
he
bag?
will be down here as well this week. It was kind of a funny story in 2020. Going into the third round, I called him before and I said, if I'm on lead card tomorrow and the final day, will you fly down? And he said, sure, just make that happen. And then made lead card the final day. And sure enough, he's down here 12 hours later. So it's just kind of been a tradition for him to come down here for this tournament.
All right. And then you've also added, the new family member earlier this year. Give us a quick recap of this year on tour, and has it gotten easier? Not necessarily maybe the play, but just tour life. Has it gotten easier as you're wrapping up another year?
Yeah, I definitely
here on tour.
I definitely think so. Last year was a lot of Airbnbs, hotels. This year is more. Obviously, we have a van. We're pretty much living anywhere, so it's definitely gotten a lot more simplified.
All right, we'll see if that leads to more success for you. Here's Mo.
Yeah, Kyle. So you mentioned being on that lead card last year, final round. There were some other players on that card that were like struggling, and the lead card kind of actually fell back a little bit, where the chase card was kind of almost became the lead card. What was that experience like? What did you learn from that experience, being like the guy that was in contention on a lead card where other guys were maybe falling off a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely didn't know kind of what the scores were at until I checked maybe hole 14, 15 or so. I think it was me, Joel, Rick, and I think Sexton were on the chase card. And I don't think Nate wasn't doing terrible, but I think it was me, Joel, and Rick that were all pretty much jockeying for the lead at that point with Paul. And I didn't know until that point. I said, whoa, we're kind of all in the lead right here. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle.
Hi, Kona. Thank you for joining us today. A couple of weeks ago, just before the MVP Open, you were very candid in your remarks about how some of your goals as the season winds down are different, how you're working off the course on mental game, how you're working off the course to begin already to get prepared for next year. In the weeks since then, how are things coming? Are you continuing to achieve those goals both on and off the course? And what are your goals for this week?
Yeah, you know, these last few weeks have been a complete night and day. I feel like when I last talked to you guys, I had this big old cloud above me, and I was very reclusive, kind of did not feel myself, and I spent some time with my family. My dad caddied for me at MVP. I worked with my therapist, Brent Oliver, with Brent Oliver now. He's a mindfulness coach, and then I saw my mom for a week, and all of that love just filled my soul. So I've been working really hard. I have a putt I'm loving, and it sucks that I'm feeling this next gear of motivation right as the season's ending, but it feels good.
Do you continue to have things in mind in terms of the off season, which is rapidly approaching, things that you intend to do initially to get off on the right foot during that season of preparing for next year? Do you continue to have goals?
Yeah, so first goal is to get married. We get married in November. We have our honeymoon, so quick little vacation, chill, relax after the long season. But right after that, well, actually, as soon as I get home, I have a workout regimen, a diet. Katrina and I are talking about carnivore diet, hoping that can help with my autoimmune disease and some other things. And then just getting the mind right and putting every day. That's just my goal. I'm excited for next season.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, Kona.
Hi.
It's really great to have you here, and this is the final event of 2022's touring season, and it's also your first complete season on dynamic discs. Can you first share with us your top favorite highlights of this year with your new discs?
Sheesh. There's been a few. I haven't thrown in with anything yet. Yes, it's coming close. But, you know, Dynamic gave me the opportunity to have 2 different tour series this year, and I absolutely fell in love with my Orbit Felon, which is a disc that a lot of people have come to really like, and one that I've been loving. But, you know, something special about Trilogy is that there's 3 different companies I can choose all kinds of different molds from. So I'm still doing a lot of just researching on what I like and what I don't like, and yeah, it's honestly, this year's just been fun, just trying out new stuff. Before it was like, I have my bag, I'm never changing it, this is all I need forever, and you know, it's been exciting kind of figuring out this new plastic and also just like my new family.
I think that's very, very candid answer. And I also want to follow that up with favorite stop on this year's tour, not necessarily to do with throwing your discs, but something that was very, it'll stand out in the memories.
Yeah. There's an event in Tallahassee, Florida. It's actually run by our good friend, Mr. Griff, and it's unfortunately not on the schedule next year, but that was one we always remember just because the vibes, the community there, the course was a lot of fun, the weather was nice for a little bit. I believe there was some torrential downpour, but I remember that being a really good, happy place for both Colt and I.
Wonderful. So let's bring it down to this event last year. You placed second to Missy Ganon, and that is huge, being at Winthrop Gold. Is there memories and experience and feelings that will help drive you to placing in the top 10, possibly the podium this weekend?
Yeah, I think some good memories from last year, but also I've been doing a lot of mental preparation as well as physical preparation. You know, Paul Ulibarri just saw Bob Rotella, a very well-known sports psychiatrist or therapist, whatever you want to call him, and he's someone I actually really look up to, and I've been reading his book this past week, and I'm so pumped, and it's like I said, it's kicked me into another gear, and just reading those books and also speaking to my mindfulness coach, it's just been like very positive up here, and it's just been kind of nice. It's been nice.
Yeah, nice. And fresh start as many times as you want to hit that button.
Yeah.
But also, we just want to wish you really good luck here, Kona, being the final event. We want to see you walk away with great memories and experiences again.
Me too.
Good luck.
Thanks, Zoe.
Hello, Kona.
Hello, Brian.
A few questions for you. I want to zoom into this course and maybe more of the details here. Obviously, you got second place here last year. A few changes have happened. When you approach this course, I asked the same question to Missy. Do you feel like there's room for aggression out here, or is this a course you kind of have to respect at all times?
being a longer thrower, I think at times I have to chill out and be like, yo, take your par, or, you know, like hole 5, for example, I know I can make it over the water. Is it worth it? Not really, when I can go around the corner, pitch up, and still have a putt for birdie. So there's certain cases where you have to kind of take a step back, realize I can do this, but should I? Is the risk worth the reward? And, you know, hole 9, she mentioned, I listened to her interview as well, and she's like, you know, it's just a little too far. And it's like, am I going for that one? I know I can get there, but is it worth it? So a lot of questioning here and there. I have Colton on the bag this week, unfortunately, but fortunately. So he's going to be very helpful in keeping me sane, at peace, but also telling me when or when not to go for stuff. And that's going to be big as a caddy. You know, I think Paul even mentioned his caddy, he can still learn from him, and that's crazy to hear from a 6-time world champion. So there's a lot we can still learn from people who are watching us and also who know us very well.
This course, obviously, for anyone who's won especially or come close to winning, they always say it's mentally exhausting to walk off this track. There's so many decisions you have to make and so many tense moments. Are there any shots out here, like tee shots or second shots, that you have fun throwing? Is it always a mental grind, or are some shots out here really enjoyable to throw?
The one that comes to mind right away, I'm looking at it, I'm looking at the tee sign, hole 6. So for us, we have a shorter tee pad, and it's reachable for most of our division, and it's a simple shot, but it's a low ceiling. You have to throw something overstable, you have to trust the line and the release, and then trust it's going to get left. And I think that's one just a lot of fun. If you dial it in, you get that birdie. And if you land in the sand, it's just one of those things, you're like, yes,
exactly.
I made it to the sand.
It's interesting. You have a very solid sidearm, very solid backhand. Missy wins the tournament last year and has one of the most simple skill sets of the division. Do you feel like you lean on the sidearm a lot out here?
It's funny, I didn't throw a lot of forehands this year. I think these past few weeks I've been throwing them more because of the situations like Maple Hill. Kind of have to have both those shots in certain scenarios, where here I'm definitely throwing more forehands off the tee that I wouldn't usually do. But hole 14 or 15, we have a shorter pad and it's elevated, and I'm going forehand. And it's funny, I play with Maria, she's like, I didn't even see that route. But if you have the shot and it's more consistent and it's a safer release, I say forehand all day.
Fantastic. Well, enjoy yourself this week. Good luck, and hopefully we can recreate what you did last year and maybe even better.
Thanks, Brian.
Hey, Kona.
Hi, Terry.
We were talking to Missy earlier, so it's going to be a similar question in that she shot 2 under to win it. You shot even. Does this course set up to the skill sets to challenge the women's division appropriately? And maybe the point B to that is there anything you'd change about the course that would help it one way or another?
They've recently changed a few holes. Hole 3 is one that we're talking about recently, but there's a few who are kind of upset that they took away the shorter par 3, that was hole 3, and then made it into hole 4, added it to hole 4. I personally love that hole. I think it's a good, you have to have the distance, which obviously you got to have a long throw, but then also you have to be very particular in where you're landing. And I think a lot of the holes out here, you have to be very careful. Your pin position, you have to be, okay, I want to be left so it opens up the hyzer. You have to be careful where you're landing. I think it sets up great for our division. I'm curious to see the scores with the new changes, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Okay, I will follow that up with one more, which is this tournament essentially started at the USDGC in Winthrop Gold. Essentially started when you were just barely of age, barely born, in fact.
Sure.
What is it about stepping onto this property and being here as part of the historic nature that this event and what it's meant to disc golf?
I mean, this course, also the people who have put so many hours in. I mean, Innova, I'm not with them anymore, but I always have love for them, and how much this course and just rolling up on this venue just gives me that feeling that I don't really get anywhere else. And like you said, I think it's the history. I mean, we have JK right here. She played in the division with all the dudes, and now look, now we have our own division. Obviously, it's not USDGC. It's not a major. It's a little bit different. But there's something about this place that just you don't get that kind of feeling anywhere else.
All right. Well, thank you again. Best of luck. And, of course, shout out to JK here, as she's the only woman to ever cash.
Woo!
All right. Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. We're joined here by Ricky Wysocki. Ricky, we are back at Winthrop. You've played this course so many times. Do you still feel the quote-unquote magic that so many people say when they come here?
Yeah, I think it's definitely got an aura around the course. When you pull in, you can see hole 17, basket just sitting there right by the water. Hole 5, the par 5 when you're driving in. So it's got the prestige when you're driving by all the iconic holes, and the bamboo hole, and so all the holes just kind of stick out, and you're like, wow, I'm here. This is awesome. And so it's great to have the opportunity to feel those feelings and have a chance at a title this year.
Let's talk about, just in general, nerves going into tournaments. You've won so many tournaments. Do you still get nervous for the majors, for all these big events?
Yeah, I mean, there's always nerves. I mean, it's just a part of the game. When you play at the top level, there's going to be pressure, there's going to be nerves, and I think here is more than ever because each hole offers its own set of challenges, OB, and you'd say it's never over until it's over, but this course is a true test of that saying for sure. Because as soon as you let up, Winthrop will attack you, and it'll attack your confidence if you're off just a little bit, and that's what's most challenging about it.
Why is that? Is that simply just because of the out of bounds? I know so many tournaments nowadays have this type of out of bounds, but what exactly is that?
Yeah, I think it's just, the slopes of the fairways, the slopes of the baskets it's not really easy spots. Even the holes that are quote unquote easy, you still have to work for it, earn it, and every stroke matters because it all boils down to putting yourself in position to where situationally you can play to win come Sunday. And I think that this course there's so many different ways to attack it. I think that every player has a different skill set and a different way of, being aggressive on certain holes versus, playing safe on certain holes. And that's what makes this course so unique. And I think that's why the players love the challenge.
Speak about your game this week. Speak about your health. Speak about your chances of taking down a USDGC title.
Yeah, I think out here it's course management and knowing the conditions, what the course gives you, and knowing that if the wind's up, the scores are going to maybe be lower, and the course is playing really hard this year. I think it's playing the hardest it's ever played, and to par, I think good rounds are going to be 5, 6 under. If I shoot 5 or 6 under every round, I think I'll win the tournament. And so that's my mindset coming in, is playing consistent, and those are the numbers I'm shooting, looking to score. Yeah, if someone shoots 7, 8, 9 under, I'm fine with that. It's all about having a consistent game plan. That's going to outweigh having a hot round and following it up with a mediocre round. And it's out here is all about consistency.
I have a question about a very specific shot on the course. It's one of the very big changes out here that obviously combined 3 and 4 to a very challenging par 4 that a lot of players are saying might not get birdied that much this tournament. I look at you as a player that likes to throw flat, kind of likes to throw flex shots, and the tee shot that it looks like it's wanting you to throw is a more pushing hyzer. Maybe I'm wrong. What are your thoughts on that tee shot, and what are you doing on that hole?
Yeah, I mean, there's every course offers shots that fit your eye and other shots that may not. But yeah, I'm a natural flexor, and there's a tree on the left that blocks the flex shot from being thrown like I would like. But I can still get in a position with a nice flex shot. It's hard to get far enough left on that hole, no matter which way you throw. And yeah, it's you got to throw it 500, 550 just and push it way left to get into the landing zone to have a chance to have an upshot. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw less than 5 birdies this week on that hole. And I mean, it's not that you can't do it. It's just it's totally wind dependent. If there's the wrong wind, it's pretty much unbirdieable. If it's a headwind or if it's a left to right wind, you'll basically no chance of a birdie.
Do you see players, maybe even yourself, in the top 10 laying up if the wind conditions are not favorable?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think there's a handful of holes that are bonus birdies out there, and that's definitely one of them. It's definitely not a hole you're going to be mad walking away with par. And I think that there's a lot of holes out here like that ever since the changes and the out of bounds. Winthrop's the type of course that par's never bad. And there's a lot of holes you can attack, but you got to know when to attack and when to not. So I'm hoping I make the right decisions this week.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks.
Hi, Ricky.
Hey.
You've talked a lot about the feelings, the aura, what this course provides as challenge. But can you talk about personally, inside of your heart and your determination? You've gotten a 3rd place finish at this tournament a few times, and you're always in the hunt. But what does it mean to get that final prestigious title to Ricky Wysocki?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's obviously slipped through my hands multiple times. I've got a bunch of top 5 finishes, and And so it's something where, it feels like a home court advantage type of thing where I play well here. I have all the shots it takes to win. And now it's just going out there with the right mental frame and being ready to capitalize situationally. And I think that's what this course is all about, is when the moment arises, and there's different moments in tournaments where players may leave a door open, you got to strike. And I think that's super important out here, is knowing when to strike, when to be aggressive. Otherwise, the course, if you attack at the wrong time and you fight your gut feeling sometimes and throw the wrong shot, it's going to punish you.
Well, thank you for that answer, and that's really the only question I have. I just have to say, with that home court advantage and those feelings, I think you should prepare in the future to potentially give lectures on how to play Winthrop. So good luck to you this weekend.
Thank you.
Ricky, just building on you talking about having a lot of familiarity and comfort with this course, I have a fun question for you, and basically it's this. Details here at the course, some are historic, some are brand new year over year. They're always topics of conversation. Can you tell us maybe your favorite hole or favorite design elements of the course here at Winthrop, and then conversely, your least favorite hole or least favorite design elements of the course here at Winthrop?
For sure. I think I'll start with the best. I think that it's the type of course to where par is not easy. I mean, you can lay up and play for par, but it doesn't mean it's a gimme. In certain courses, par is easier to play for, and I think that's what makes this course so challenging, but yet a great design, is because it challenges. If you're playing a safer game plan, it's playing for par, you still got to execute the shots. Versus, obviously, same way when you're attacking for birdie. So it attacks you no matter, and it's challenging no matter if you're aggressive or not. And I think that's a beautiful thing. As far as maybe what I don't like, some of the unnatural OBs are, a little. Punishing, I guess, is a good word for it, and it's a little excessive, it seems like, as a player. But that's just what you got, and that's what this tournament's here for. It's here to challenge the best players, and mentally and physically, not one or the other. This place challenges you both ways, and I think that I'm up for the challenge.
Just one more for you, Rick.
All right.
This is more for fun. You're wearing the White Sox hat, but your Cleveland Guardians kind of made it so that Dylan Cease might actually be able to be here this weekend and watch, because they swept them in the 3-game series a couple weeks ago. Was there any trash talking with Dylan? Is it like, hey, I'm going to make it so that you're available to cheer me on at USDGC? Or like, what's that relationship like?
No, it wasn't. I kind of was letting him do his thing. Don't want to mess his rhythm up. He's been killing it. But I'll definitely be rooting for the Guardians. But he gave me this hat, so I had to rock it and support him. And it's been great to see him, fellow disc golfer, killing it in the MLB. And it gives me someone to root for, just like he roots for me when he comes out to the tournaments. I hope, at least. If
Dylan Cease is pitching against the Guardians, who are you? How do you split your allegiance there?
I'm definitely rooting for Dylan to have a good start. I think if he blanked the Guardians in a start, I would be happy.
Yeah. Okay. 162 games. There's plenty of other times.
Exactly.
The Guardians. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's it.
Thank you.
And my quick one for you, Rick, is a little bit on the personal side in that I saw you and your brother the other day at dinner and talk about who's going to be on the bag and what those decisions are like. We've seen him out here before, and we're as close to your home as ever, at this event. So talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's great to see family. It's been, 6-7 months since I saw him, and so he's going to be out there supporting me. But I actually have my nutritionist, Drew, is on the bag this week, and I've been working with him ever since I got Lyme disease, and he's going to, we've got a great game plan going in this week, and I think that, he's going to help me stay in the rhythm and stay in the mindset that I need to play at the high level, which, is what I need to do to win out here. And so I'm excited to have him on the bag, and we're gonna do great things.
And then just to clarify, do you have anything nagging Lyme related right now?
Yeah, no, all my body feels great.
Okay.
No nagging injuries, no flare-ups, and just me and Winthrop. That's all that lies ahead.
All right, buddy. Well, best of luck to you. We'll be right back.
With Kristin Tattar now, Kristin, you have absolutely rocketed to superstar status in the sport of disc golf. At the MVP Open, a group of fans wore matching shirts and called themselves Tattar's Tots. What is it like to be the focus of groups of fans who come out to events just to cheer you on like that? Is it something you'll ever get used to?
I don't know yet. We'll see over the years, but yeah, it's definitely amazing to see people come out. I don't want to say just for me, but like they cheer for me. As you said, they had like matching shirts on, so I can see that they put some effort into it, some thought into it, and it's crazy, and I enjoy every moment of it.
This will be your first time playing in the Throw Pink Championship, but you did get to see the Winthrop Arena course a couple of years ago playing in USDGC. Have you gotten used to the unique elements about this course? What are your impressions of the design changes?
Yeah, well, it's my first time playing the women's layout, but I've played here before. As I said, I competed here in 2019. I've also just practiced the course with silver like several years, so I know what Winthrop has in store for the players. It's a crazy course, but yeah, I really like the women's layout. I think it's a lot more suitable than the men's version of the course. I like it here.
When it comes to some of the more unique things like the Christmas trees that block your route on certain holes, do you find those entertaining? Do they distract you in any way, or are they just another obstacle to overcome in the course of a round?
Well, I just take them as an obstacle, like on any other course, like any other tree or something. But of course, like the middle tree is just in the way, I feel like. But I will navigate around it for sure.
Thank you, Kristin.
Good afternoon, Kristin.
Hey.
It's great to have you here, and we're at the Throw Pink, which you just said you haven't competed in before, but you have had multiple opportunities to kind of check out Winthrop. And we haven't heard if you actually like playing it or not so much.
It's just a unique course, I feel like, with its own rules and its own vibe, I feel like. Yeah, I feel like there's something magical here. Yeah, I think I prefer wooded courses, but it's another challenge for me, being an open course and with lots of OBs. Yeah, I think I take it as a very good challenge.
All right. Well, let's see. Last weekend at MVP, again, congratulations on your second place there. But that was the career placement that put you over the $100,000 career earnings mark. What does that mean to you personally? The time you've spent away from family and your homeland and in the United States to have pressed through that earnings.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's not so much to do with me or my abilities. I feel like it's a lot more to do with Disc Golf Pro Tour and their efforts that they've put into disc golf, advertising it and making this like a career choice, basically, because I feel like I've played very solid golf over the years, but I just haven't had the opportunity to make this much money. So thank you, Disc Golf Pro Tour.
And that's a very relevant and great aspect of what makes it possible to tour. Knowing that and having the success you've had, will you continue on this path for the next foreseeable few years?
Yes, definitely. I've signed a contract with Latitude. It's a 4-year contract, so this was my first year. At least for 3 more years, probably longer. But yeah, that's the plan, to be coming over here and being part of most of the tour stops.
All right. Final question here is actually about the course and about your practice and game plan this weekend. There are about 2 to 3 tees where the tee shot gives you a risk reward. If you lay up, you're playing for par, and if you attack the pin, there's a potential eagle or birdie. Will you be aggressive off the tee, and will that potentially change throughout the weekend?
I tried both versions in multiple holes. I think it has a lot to do with the conditions that we play in. So if it's headwind, I'm playing more conservative, or if it's just very windy, I'm going to be more conservative. If it's not windy, then I'm definitely going to be more in attack mode.
Well, thank you and good luck this weekend. Here's Brian.
Thank you.
Hello, Kristin. A couple questions for you. It seems like you have been at every press conference and done so much media and done so many appearances this year because of your successes. Does it ever get tiresome answering so many questions and speaking to so many media outlets?
Definitely at some point, yeah. I'm one of those people who need some alone time. And I feel like whenever I come here and tour here, I'm always around people, and it's a non-stop thing. So at this point, right now, I do feel like I'm really looking forward to going home, having some alone time, spending time with my daughter, and just relaxing.
Well, I have one last question for you then to let you go. Looking a bit forward, I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but a record payout for the Tour Championship next week at Nevin Park, which is a very wooded course, a very notorious Charlotte wooded course. You mentioned you like playing in the woods. Have you seen that track yet?
Yes, I've actually played a couple of rounds there. I'm really looking forward to playing there. I think it's going to be way more fun playing in the woods because a lot more can happen over there. So yeah, I'm looking forward next week.
Well, a couple of huge tournaments coming up. Obviously, this one comes first, so good luck.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. Joined here by Corey Ellis. Corey, you've had quite the season so far. It's great to have you here. Overall, how are you feeling this week?
I feel great. Yeah, I've got 1100 rated caddy, Brian Schweberger, the legend himself. More tournament experience than anybody by my side, and I'm ready to play some golf.
Have you played some practice rounds with Schwebby, and has he given you some insight on the course?
Every practice round, yeah. We've got a game plan dialed, and I feel confident in executing all my shots.
Want to jump back just quickly to the phenomenal performance you put on last week at Maple Hill. I want to talk about the final hole. You were clocked at, I believe, a 71-mile-an-hour drive off the tee, full of adrenaline, put yourself into a beautiful position, and had a very similar type of shot to what you're going to throw on hole 17 out here, a short forehand. Walk us through what you're feeling in that moment.
It's surreal, I felt like I had the momentum going into that hole. So my game plan all week is to, play it for par. But with having that birdie stretch going, I felt like I needed to throw Zeus and be aggressive and go for the win, because even if I went to a playoff, I felt like I was going to have to birdie it to win regardless. So I said, I'd really be pissed at myself to lay up and then lose in a playoff when I had the opportunity to win. So, I don't regret the shot at all. And my gut told me to throw the sidearm, and I just overcommitted to the shot. That's what it is.
Well, and again, there's obviously learning experiences that come from even just putting yourself in these moments. Do you feel like you tasting what victory could feel like this season as many times as you have, do you feel like you're going to take that experience into this week?
Absolutely. And next week.
Yeah.
It's just really makes you hungry, and you get fed up with it. You're so close, and to come up that short, it's heartbreaking, but it also fuels the fire.
What has the magic formula been this season? You've gone from someone who I remember back in 2019 throwing 600 feet into a headwind, wondering who you were, and now you're front and center of the world right now. What's been that magic formula?
Well, it's been being sober, quitting drinking, and this year I cut out soda altogether too. So now it's pretty much just water, Pedialyte, electrolytes, stuff like that, kombucha. But just believing in yourself and having the confidence is number one, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody will.
Yeah.
And throwing it in bounds, that's the key out here, especially.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, good luck this week, Corey. We'll see you out there.
Thank you.
Hi, Corey.
Hey.
You've had an incredible season so far this year. Can you just speak to what this season in general, looking at your placements and, again, some of the things that Brian had asked you about, looking at your entire season, give us a couple of thoughts about how you feel about your play.
Overall, I feel it's a successful season. It's for me, it's by far the most successful season that I've ever had. But there's still a lot of mistakes. There's still quite a few tournaments that I'm not happy with how I finished. And I think just by playing a full season on tour, it's just been experience. This is my first season out here on the west side and everything, and I just think it's gonna get better and better.
And so, just to ask, plainly, frankly, are you planning to tour again next year?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And hit the majors and the elites?
Everything. I'm gonna do my best to get to Europe. That's been a dream ever since I was a kid. Watching Paul and Ricky and Germ and all those guys battle in Europe, and I'm excited to get the opportunity to go over there.
Just last question for you is on this weekend, the confidence level with the course challenges. This course has so much personality. What's your relationship with Winthrop?
Well, my relationship with Winthrop is when my dad brought me here in 2009 when I was just a kid, and I had never been to a big tournament at all. And I got to watch Double G and some of those guys throw over the lake, and they had these shirts that said, "I throw further than you," written across the back. And I think that was the moment that made me want to become a professional disc golfer.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, and good luck this weekend.
Hi, Corey. Just one question for you. This year you have played in front of galleries that have gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and most of those watching right now will never get to experience what it's like to play disc golf in front of a crowd like that. Can you tell us what it's like trying to get used to that? What are the parts that have been easy to get used to, and what are the parts that are still a challenge to be used to?
Well, you just have to forget that everybody's there. It's really doesn't matter who all is watching. It's all about you and that shot that's in front of you, and that's the canceling everything else out of your mind is key, and it just takes time, and experience just by doing it. There's no cheat code to do it. You can't just have a bunch of people come out and watch. It's not the same thing. So it's just, doing it.
Do you feel like you're already doing a pretty good job of it, or do you still feel like you've got room to grow in that area?
I think there's always room to grow. I don't want to say, I'm the best at it or whatever, because I'm not. And there's always pressure situations, man, and especially out here, coming down the final stretch, there's going to be people everywhere, and probably more pressure here than anywhere. I think, in my personal opinion, this is the most prestigious event that we have, and I'm excited to have an opportunity to fight for the win.
Thanks. Mo's got one more for you.
Yeah, Corey, so with Schwebe on the bag, how many thumbers or overhand shots have been recommended to you that you've had to like kind of, can you throw that shot? Because that's going to get recommended to you this week, right?
Absolutely not. Schwebe, honestly, doesn't like to be known as the thumber guy. He wants to be known as the guy who's won more than anybody, because he is.
Mm-hmm. All right, and one last one for you. There's this amazing shot, is artistically an amazing shot of you in the clubhouse in Maple Hill right after Simon taps in for the win, where your head's in your hands. What was going through your mind at that moment?
I felt like I threw it away, because I did. And it was just, heartbreak and asking myself, how could you throw away a simple shot that you've thrown thousands and thousands of times, just a simple forehand hyzer, but that's also why I love the game, is because even though we practice all these shots, there's still those pressure situations that you can't practice unless you're there.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you, Corey. That's everything. Yeah.
Hey, Corey, I'm just going to follow up with one more. I know we just, joked about Schwebe and the thumbers, but what would you say is the number one piece of insight you've gotten from him with regard to this course? I mean, he is such a valuable caddy.
He's played here 18 years, I think, 18 times, and he knows the course. I couldn't ask for anybody better in my corner than Schwebe out here, especially. And I think that it's just helping me see what lines I want to throw, where I want to land, and him knowing my game well. And we complement each other.
And he knows your game well, but how does he know you so well? Where did that relationship foster and begin?
I met him a few years ago here, actually. We stay at Chris Brown's house right down the road. Shout out to them for always hosting us. Their family and Schwebe's family. He's like my uncle.
All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck to you and Schwebe. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. We're joined here by the MVP Open champion coming in this week, Natalie Ryan. Natalie, we're here at Winthrop. How are you feeling out here?
I'm feeling pretty good on the course. I didn't feel good last year, but things have changed, I guess. My game's kind of evolved a little bit. I've gotten a little more control, and I'm feeling good about most of the holes.
I remember actually last year being out down by hole 4's green and looking out into the field and seeing you even after your round putting in hours of field work every day, it seemed like. So clearly your game might be evolving. When you're looking at these shots now, what is changing? What's changing about your decision making? What's changing about the disc you're throwing?
I'm trying to throw slower. For the most part, I don't rip drivers off the tee as much as I used to. I'm trying to, throw fairways, get my mid ranges more into play, and see where that lands me. And it's been good. It's been good this week.
It's been a long season, and you've gone pretty much coast to coast. When it comes to your, I guess, level of burnout that most players have to gauge at this point in the year, how are you feeling, and how are you able to kind of keep motivated?
I was ready to be at home about a month ago. But I love the game enough that it keeps me here. Playing is all I actually need, and if I was at home, that'd be exactly the same thing that I'm doing now.
Quick question about kind of a side event that you did here. You participated in the U.S. Distance Championships, which actually was an open registration this year. It wasn't just for participants of the tournament. And you didn't take down the title, but I want you to comment on your co-competitor, Ella Hansen. 552-foot throw, and I don't think I've ever seen someone on flat ground do that. Can you comment on that, and were you watching?
I wasn't watching at the time. I've been having back trouble, so I went and sat down for a good bit. But that 552 is absolutely crazy far. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've never even broken 500, and to hear that she managed to do that on flat ground, it's absolutely crazy.
Is there something to be said when you're throwing that far? Is it the line that you're taking? Is it the wind play? Like, again, that is an absurd throw, and Ella also said that that's clearly her personal best.
Yeah. I mean, the line's different. You're kind of trying to get the disc to sail in the wind rather than, properly throw it like we would normally. Mm-hmm. So the form's a bit different, the throw's a bit different. It's a different entirely skill kind of thing. So.
Well, zooming into this week, we're playing golf, and a lot of players are starting to say that they're trying to throw slower, and they're having success with it. Do you feel like a conservative game plan is what you're trying to do out here?
I wouldn't say conservative. I'm attacking with slower discs rather than fast discs, which, I mean, my game has always been quite aggressive. Eventually it'll pay off, and has last weekend. Mm-hmm. So as long as I can keep pulling those shots, I should be doing good.
Well, fantastic. Good luck this week.
Thanks.
Hi, Natalie, and another congratulations on the MVP Open.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask, how does one celebrate such an awesome accomplishment?
Honestly, it didn't really feel like a win. The community and a lot of the hate that I've received from it has actually kind of taken away from what I ended up doing, and I kind of just went home and tried to reset, and it did enough, but it hurt.
Well, if I'd like to just dig into that a little bit with the reset. What does one do to reset from a tough media experience after such a huge accomplishment?
Just staying away from all of media. It's the best way for me to do it. That's the only way I found success, is to just kind of turn away from things, keep to myself, and eventually things improve after people forget about it. So,
let's switch gears here to the confidence, the positive things, the passion that drives you to play disc golf. What's keeping you out here? You've commented on how the confidence is higher, especially after some of those shots that you pulled off at MVP. What's your relationship right here with Winthrop, and what's the confidence level like at a course that pretty much everyone in the field, be it male or female, is saying you must know the course, bow to the course, and play the course?
I don't feel like that's entirely true. I mean, the shots are fairly simple. Like, there's maybe a couple trees in the way, a little bit of OB here and there, but as long as you know your game well enough, it shouldn't be that bad. That's kind of where my confidence level's at. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're throwing confidently, you're going to play well here.
Well said, and good luck for this weekend. I'm going to pass it off to Grant Zellner.
Hi, Natalie. People talk about wooded courses and how they challenge your control, but this course requires control in a completely different way as the disc comes to the ground. How do you make the adjustment from successes you had at MVP, hitting gaps early in flight, to now having to control the disc when it comes to the ground? How do you make that mental and then physical adjustment?
For the most part, I always aim at the ground, so it's not really a big problem for me. I don't really look at the gaps. I envision the flight that my disc takes, and I try to hit that as best I can. And if the trees get in the way, then I threw the wrong line.
You're one of the farthest throwers on tour. Is that ever a hindrance? And is it a hindrance on any holes this week? Is it a challenge to disc down enough and throw short enough with control?
I don't think it's a hindrance at all. There are a couple of shots where I am kind of throwing a slower putter shot rather than something fast that I would prefer to do. It's not necessarily my strong suit, is slowing down on my arm. But I don't think it's a hindrance. Being able to throw a putter off the tee will give me the ability to, I guess, manage the ground play and the kicks a little bit better.
Great. Thank you, Natalie.
Hey, Natalie. The PDGA super recently sent out a survey about transgender athletes' participation in disc golf. Do you have any thoughts on that survey or comments on it?
I don't really have any thoughts on it at the moment. As far as I know, it's being done by an academic, professional. So as far as that goes, as long as it's, not biased in any real way, that's fine with me.
Okay. Awesome. And one follow-up. At the MVP Open, I'm looking through all these stats, and it's really, everyone always thinks oh, she's driving further. And actually, when you're diving through the stats, it's actually she's just putting better than everyone. That was kind of the differentiator at the MVP Open. What has it been on the putting green that has been really clicking for you lately? At least clicked at MVP, at least.
Actually, on the second day, I noticed that I had been rushing my putts. So I kind of stepped up to the green, would quickly find my lie and not go through my whole routine. And I kind of noticed it mid-round on day 2 and corrected it. And then the following 3 days, I putt nearly perfectly. So I think finding the time to slow down and take a breath has been keeping me clean on the green.
Awesome. That's all I got. Thank you, Natalie. Welcome back, everybody. We're joined here by a previous USDGC major champion, Chris Dickerson. Chris, we're back at Winthrop. How are you feeling out here?
Feeling good. Course looks great, honestly.
Talk about what that means. What does it mean for this particular course to look great?
For a lot of people, they say the World Championships, that's the event of the year. For me and a smaller amount of people, I think this is the event of the year. Just because it's always in the same place, it's a prestigious event, and I think they take the most pride in making it look the way that it does and keeping it up the way that it is.
It's been stretched out and changed over a 24-year period, and now here we are with the course that you're playing this week. Mm-hmm. They took out a few iconic holes. They took out hole 3 and hole 4, a couple of the more technical holes in the course, and they created the par 4. I asked a few players this already. What are your thoughts on the opening tee shot, and do you feel like you're going to be aggressive on that?
On hole 3?
Yeah.
I'm going to be a little aggressive, but I think my shot's going to be the second shot where I really get aggressive because I'm going to go just hyzer. If I get far enough, it's going to make my second shot, which is going to be a roller either way, shorter. So I think it really just comes down to that second shot.
Do you feel like the Guardian tree in the middle of the fairway, kind of in that back line, does that get in the way of the natural driver shot, or have you had no problems with that?
I haven't had any problems with it yet, but I've been kind of pushing the OB on the left more than those back trees.
How do you feel about the rock OB this year? They've left the tall grass tall, which is the out of bounds. They've cut the fairway a little bit shorter. Do you enjoy kind of this new attempt at a new type of OB?
So far, it looks so much better than the stakes in years past. It's a lot easier to tell, like you said, with the taller grass and the rocks, what is inbounds, what's not. Especially whenever it's coming across the fairway a little bit. So I do like the change, but we'll see if I hit one and stay out of bounds, what my opinion is then.
Well, the weather looks pretty solid this week, and I remember when you won your tournament, it was one of the most brutal rounds of disc golf that I've potentially ever watched. Maybe can you comment on that and comment on what you learned having to battle through that?
Yeah. It was definitely the rainiest round I've ever played in. I played in quite a few, actually. So it was playing disc golf, but it was also you had to change gears into not bleeding strokes instead of going for birdies and just trying to stay dry and keep your towels dry and stuff like that. Because once you lose that, you lose all, like, just the feeling of the disc coming out of your hand. It's just going to start slipping out on every shot. So it's just staying dry, really.
I guess when it comes to this tournament, I want to look at potential scores to look at. Over under 30 under par. Is that kind of a number to look at this week?
No idea. I might say over, but if I had to put money on it, I have no idea.
Great. Well, good luck this week, Chris.
I appreciate it.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Just a couple of short, easy questions. In the past, when you were a champion here, you actually were throwing a different lineup of discs for a different manufacturer. This year, you chose to join and sign with Discraft, and we're at the end of the season. So, two-part question is, how are we feeling with this lineup of discs, and is it more challenging or more exciting for you to attack Winthrop with the Discraft discs?
It's more exciting. So, like you said, last year playing with different discs, this year doing the same thing, different discs. I feel like I have more shots in my bag now. Quite a few more discs made by Discraft, so it covers a larger variety of shots. So I think that I have at least a couple more shots than I did in the past years. So maybe that can hurt, but I think it's going to help more than anything.
Absolutely. And then just a final one here. We've had a couple of really outrageously stunning and happy outfit remarks. Are you a John Deere fan? And if so, what's your favorite mold of tractor?
Ooh, wasn't really John Deere. It was more of a New Holland or a Ford. So, one of those.
Thank you, Chris, and best of luck to you this weekend.
Thank you.
Well, Chris, so you stole my thunder just a little bit, but I did want to ask you about the outfit. You're here in jeans and boots. Does that mean you're done preparing, or did you just dress up for us today?
A little bit of both. I got my final practice round in this morning, and we've got the players' ceremony a little bit later this evening, so I went ahead and got ready.
Do you feel prepared in all ways? Is part of not playing for the latter half of today while other players are still on the course just getting mentally prepared and taking in a little bit of rest before a grueling 4 rounds here?
Yeah, it's mostly the rest. Decided to get out here early. That way I could have more time in between the finish of my practice round and the beginning of my round tomorrow to have quite a bit of time to rest instead of pushing those a little bit closer together.
The only other question I have for you today, Chris, is when you won your championship here, the weather conditions were atrocious. It's already been brought up. This year, the forecast looks pretty good, pretty nice. Do you feel like the bad weather conditions played into some of your strengths? And if you don't get bad weather conditions this year, how are you going to overcome that and put yourself into contention?
I felt like it did play a little bit into my strengths last year because, like I mentioned, preparing before the round is key whenever it comes to those really rainy rounds. But, we practice about every time that we go out and practice, we hardly ever practice in rain. So this is what we prepare for. We prepare for what we have right now. No rain, sunny and 75, a little bit of wind. So I think it's about as good as it can get.
Nice. Thank you, Chris.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. A couple weeks ago when you had left Maple Hill for the first time in years, you left without a paycheck at a tournament. What did that mean to you?
Not a lot, honestly. It hurt to not cash, but I did see I had like a 200 and something tournament streak. That doesn't mean anything to me.
Does that lean more into the competitiveness of that event or your actual play? What is it more reflective of? Because we had less players at that event.
Correct.
Very skilled players. Or was it just your play and it didn't matter who was there?
It was a little bit of both. Like you said, the field size shrunk a little bit, and I didn't play very well on top of that. So those mixed together kicked me right out of the cash.
I got to say, you obviously have handled it quite well. It seems like it doesn't bother you whatsoever.
I've already let it go.
Certainly. Well, we wish you the best of luck this week.
I appreciate that.
And welcome back with Paige Pierce. Paige, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. It's like sunny, but kind of warm, but kind of cool breeze. It feels great out here.
And looking at the weather report for this week, it looks like some of the nicest conditions we've ever experienced at Winthrop. How do you feel about not just the weather report, but the conditions this week on the course?
I mean, the women playing in the morning, we're going to have wet conditions, so I've been trying to play in the morning, with the exception of today, but just to see how the skips react out there. And but we have had some fresh mows on like holes 8 and 16, so I'm excited to see those today in freshly mowed. But it's just kind of something you got to kind of like just know from Frisbee experience, right? Of like wet grass, tall grass, does it skip, does it not? How's the slope headed? But the course itself looks incredible. I seriously like think this is the future of how a disc golf course should look as far as the OB lines, like the mowed grass lines, and the viewers are going to see it at home. Like it just looks so beautiful when you walk up to a hole, you're like amped up to throw it because it's like the rocks for the visual of where the OB is, but the string, and it's tight to the ground. We're not going to have OB ruling calls, I don't think. So I'm excited with just the professionalism of this event and just excited to get going for the tournament.
Awesome. Thanks for that insight and sharing from experience. But let's just take a pause on that. After MVP, there was just a short break. You took a quick trip home and then came back here to prepare for the event. You talked in earlier press conferences this year about the difference in travel and about the difference in taking a plane flight or a fast trip to go home. How's this season kind of sized up compared to previous seasons as far as the travel, and will you repeat this same new method of travel for tournaments?
Oh, definitely. Absolutely. It's been my favorite year to date as far as like stress on my body physically, and yeah, I feel healthy. I feel like energized still. Like I have 2 tournaments left, and last week or whenever Maple Hill was, that was like, as we were high-fiving on the last hole, it was kind of like this, like, whoa, I only have like 5 tournament rounds left of this season. And it was like this sadness. And usually it's like, oh, thank God, my body's ready for a break. So I've been feeling refreshed this year because of, I think, the way I've been traveling. And yeah, I think I'll definitely continue that moving forward.
All right, well, final questions. It's about a 3-parter here on focus, Paige Pierce's focus. And let's start with waking up in the morning. The second question I'm going to ask you is during practice, and the third one I'm going to ask you is right after that 2-minute whistle in the first throw during a tournament. What is Paige Pierce focused on? So in the daily life.
My focus. I think the first one was waking up. Is that what you said?
Daily focus.
Yeah, I was just talking with Missy about this because we were supposed to have a puppy play date. I brought my puppy with me, so we were supposed to have a puppy play date after our practice round, but I slept in, and I was just telling Missy, like, it was a funny battle with myself this morning of like, okay, get up, get to the course before anyone else does. Oh, but I want to sleep in. Oh, but and it's just like that inner dialogue, right? So I think the biggest thing waking up in the morning is just reminding yourself what your goal is for that day and making sure to take steps towards that. And if you want to play well, you need to set your alarm for 30 minutes before you want to get up. For myself, that's what I found. 30 minutes before I want to be up so that I can hit snooze twice or whatever, and and then also remind myself like why that alarm is being set. Title my alarm like you want to win this tournament or whatever it may be, and that's the first thing you read and you realize, hey, that's why I'm waking up right now. And then you said that was waking up?
So that was daily, and then I want to talk about practicing anywhere. Practice.
For me, mostly it's kind of trying to find, somebody said this to me recently, actually. It was a nice little phrase that I've continued with in my head, but finding the repeatable shot and not just like the fun shot. Maple Hill, I could have won the tournament if I played repeatable smart golf, but instead hole 8 I took a 6, a 5 on those. So if I would have just parred it all 3 days, or even just if I still threw a B, laid up, took the 4, I would have won the tournament by quite a few strokes. So then watching the men's golf, I had this like realization of like, yes, it's fun to throw those cool shots, but it's even more fun to win the tournament, and so that's something that I've been struggling with on and off for my entire career. Is like, man, I want to throw the Simon shot, but I want to win. And so, I just had a realization that, I want to play smart golf, and that is also challenging. Not the Simon shot isn't the most challenging thing sometimes. Sometimes the most challenging thing is disciplining yourself and playing smart golf. So, I think focusing in practice for me has lately been finding the repeatable shot and sticking to it. With that being said, though, in practice, I am throwing the silly shot just to get it out of my brain and be like, okay, that didn't work at all, so don't even think about it during the tournament.
Thank you for sharing. In the third part of that, let's take it right here to Winthrop to throw pink. Right after that 2-minute whistle and that first drive, what is Paige Pierce's focus?
Smiling.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, and here's Grant Zellner.
Hi, Paige. Just one quick question for you. You're one of only a handful of players who have experienced Winthrop both as the USDGC layout and now also as the Throw Pink layout. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about the differences in the layout and your assessment of how the course sets up for you?
Do you mean like the layout of the course or like the specific holes?
Yeah, and the specific changes between how it's laid out for USDGC versus the FPO field.
Okay, so the T-pad differences and stuff. Yeah. I think, honestly, the way they set it up this year is really good for FPO. I love the change of hole 3 into hole 4. Then the hole 11, I mean, the baskets are in the same spot, the tee pad's in the same spot, but the way they cut the grass lines, it really makes you make a decision and stick with it. I think the challenges are the shots, whether you play from MPO or FPO pads, are somewhat similar. It's just percentage-wise, it's a little bit short, you know. I'm sorry, I'm not making sense. I don't think.
You are indeed.
They're very similar. It's just compared to our distance, compared to men's distance, but it's similar power you need, I think.
Interesting thoughts.
Sorry.
Thanks.
I still don't feel like I got that out right, but
That's okay, Paige. I got a question for you. Out of most people that I've seen play disc golf and have played disc golf with, you celebrate the cool shot. You just talked about it with Zoe. I want you to comment on something that happened outside of this tournament at the U.S. Distance Championship. Ella Hansen throwing 552, 66-mile-an-hour clock shot. Were you there to see the shot? Did you get to see anything from it? And have you thrown anything close to that?
I did not see it. I found out this morning. I didn't even know that it happened yet, and that was super sad for me because I was going to compete in it. But I wasn't here in town yet. I just got in town yesterday, or the previous night, so I missed it. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have seen that, but I did see her throw a mash at World's distance competition. I think that one was like right at 500, so amazing that she increased by 65 feet in just, what, a month. I really wish I would have got to see that.
Does it surprise you that she threw that far?
Not really, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what the conditions were like, or wind-wise, flatness, anything like that, but no, it doesn't really surprise me, honestly. I think she throws farther than Jennifer Allen, who is the current world record holder, so yeah, not surprised at all. I've been watching her play for a while, and she's got the power.
Well, fantastic. And to you this week, I say good luck.
Thank you.
Hey, Paige.
Rocking a hat today, Tear Bear.
Yeah. Soon to be available. Thank you for the plug. July 24th, Finland was the last time you were on top of the podium.
Okay.
That probably comes as a shock to you, knowing it's been that long, July.
It doesn't seem like that long, honestly. Like, I can recall that day. I can remember what it smelled like. You know, like it. Time is a funny thing, right? So relative.
Well, and that's maybe what I was going to ask is, this is one of the longest droughts that we've seen from you to not be on top of the podium. We've seen some great competition, some great battles, and everything else, but you haven't been on top of the podium since July 24th. So maybe just elaborate on what that time does or doesn't mean to you.
I'm going to deflect that question because I don't see it that way, but I do want to talk about something else kind of in the standings in mind. I was just pulling up the Pro Tour championship qualifiers last night, and I saw, like, for FPO specifically, MPO is also shocking, but FPO, where that line is, seeing the caliber of player that's under that line is absolutely mind-blowing. You know, we've had so much conversation about who's capable of winning in FPO and all the new faces winning, and that's amazing, right? But the storyline that we aren't talking about at all is that, wow, Holly Finley's not qualified, Kona Panis, all of these players that are busting their butt year-round. They're on the road all year long, and that is just, it's sad to see that, but it's also incredible. It's so amazing because even 2 years ago in FPO, if you just attended every event, you're going to qualify. And now you could be on the road all year long and still not qualify. So I think that's a huge testament to how much our sport has grown and how much the FPO division has grown. And I think it's awesome.
Well, I will say last weekend in watching MVP, that was very much within our storyline as we were commentating.
Cool.
Just talking about who isn't making it and how crazy it is to see Kona missing for the first time since she's been on tour. This is the first time she's missing the Pro Tour Championship. So it is definitely something some of us in the media are paying attention to for sure. Yeah. And the competition is great. And I think that's about all that we have. So we wish you the best of luck, Paige. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. We're joined here by Nate Sexton himself, USDGC champion himself. Nate, back at Winthrop. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good. I'm excited to be here. The weather's been fantastic. I just barely missed that hurricane coming through, and I've had some good practice days, and it's just maybe the best weather we've ever had lately. It's been just calm and not that hot and perfect.
They've made some changes to the course. They've taken out some classic holes. Seems like some of the shots have gotten longer. Does that deter you from attacking the course with your type of game plan?
It makes it harder, that's for sure. 2, 3, 4, as they were traditionally, was like birdie alley for Nate Sexton, and that has been totally turned on its head. So 2, 3, 4 now are very difficult. I would say 3 is impossible, and 2 is very hard, and 4 is very fluky. So we'll see. I'd love to get some birdies in there. I won't be birdieing hole 3.
So with that said, what do you think a solid round is going to be out here in general?
I think solid would be like 5, and great would be like 8 or 9. And I wouldn't be surprised if the hottest round we see is around that 8 or 9 number.
You've played this course in so many different iterations, and I can recall going back to when they made stroke and distance extremely prevalent on this course. I believe Will Schustrick was the only player at the time to have a bogey-free round, just unheard of.
Yeah.
How does this current layout play to something like that?
Easier than that year, just because that was so punishing. But the landing zones are smaller now. I mean, every OB was punished really, really heavily back then, but now all the landing zones are smaller. So I don't know that it's harder. It might be harder to shoot a 10 down now, in a way. Because if you're shooting 10 down, you're not going out of bounds much. Just de facto, you're going to be in your landing zones. So if that makes sense, it's harder in a different way. Maybe not as punishing across the board, but the landing zones and the actual shots you have to throw to shoot well are tougher.
You mentioned a little bit ago that once Corlin goes to kindergarten, it's game over, and you're going to make your second surge.
I hope.
How close are we to seeing that reality, and are you actually planning on playing more once that happens?
She's in kindergarten now, and I was supposed to golf more, and so far I haven't yet, but I still hope to. I've been just kind of doing all kinds of to-do list stuff, and she's only been in school about 2 weeks. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that. I mean, I think it certainly means I can play more, practice more. I don't know that it means I can compete a whole lot more, but that's okay with me. You know, I want to get out and play the tournaments. I would love to play the Tour Championship. I would love to be able to play enough to have the points and be able to do that. It wasn't possible this time with the back-to-back playoffs, straight into the USDGC, straight into the Tour Championship. It ends up being, as a West Coast guy with a family, it ends up being 5 weeks out here, and that just wasn't going to happen. But that would be my goal for next year. I would love to be able to play enough to put myself in a position to qualify for the Tour Championship. That would be fun.
Well, fantastic, and good luck this week.
Thanks.
Hi, Nate.
Hey.
So, just looking through the past years in history, looks like this is your 15th USDGC, is that right?
Yeah, it is.
And over the years, the changes, the awesomeness, I mean, is this the most prestigious event in your mind?
Probably, yeah. I mean, the World Championship obviously carries a ton of weight and probably matters more to someone's legacy and the way their sponsors treat it. Clearly, that's the highest tier. But I think in terms of, like, prestige and pageantry and tradition and, like, year in, year out specialness, this is the one that's kind of built the roadmap to where we are on the Pro Tour now in terms of the way players are treated. Like, coming here as a young kid in 2005 and someone being like, sir, do you need a golf cart ride to the players only area where food and drink is free? And I'm like, me? You know, like, that's the first time I ever felt like a professional athlete. And I think young guys now maybe are used to that, but that's only because they did it here, and that all that trickled down through the game and now has reached, you know, a lot of our events. But that all started here.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, too. And so, narrowing it into your performance, you've had 4 straight top 10s with a win and a 5th place last year. We've heard you talk about family, being a West Coaster, and not having the opportunity to travel or practice as much.
Yeah.
But let's just talk about how practiced are you for this event, and do you feel ready to play and maybe finish on the podium?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to attack the course best I can. We'll see what happens. I don't think I'm capable of shooting a 10 under on most likely on this layout, but I don't think it'll take a 10 under. So I'm going to, do my best and try to attack where I can. And I think the weather's going to be good. So no, I certainly wouldn't count myself out. And yeah, I think I'm on 5 straight major top 10s across all majors. And I was looking at it last night, something like 13 out of my last 16 majors are top 10s. So I like to show up for the majors. People have been telling me that. I looked into the stats. It turns out it's true. And I hope to continue doing that.
It's true, and we're happy that you're here. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Just a quick question for you, Nate. As we look back 5 years ago at your championship here, do you remember in any real detail exactly why it was that you came out on top that week? What it was about your game that worked? What it was about the conditions? And can any of those things be duplicated and relied upon this year, or is it a completely new year?
Oh, sure. I mean, everything worked. I mean, I shot every round in the 50s. That's like not often been done, and I won the USDGC going away by 5 shots. So can it be repeated? I don't know, but certainly it was just everything clicking, and you never really see that coming as a player, I don't think. I mean, you never really know. You know you're playing well, you're confident, but you get off to a good start on the first couple holes, things start going, and before you know it, you're hoisting a trophy. So it can happen again. I think certainly it's repeatable, but in short, everything was working.
That's an insightful answer. Thank you, Nate.
This event has been talked about as like a very lefty-friendly, sidearm-friendly sort of course.
Yes.
With the changes, I mean, you just talked about how my birdie alley turned into not a birdie alley anymore.
Yeah.
With the changes, is it still a sidearm lefty course to you, or is it no longer?
Less, certainly less, and obviously less. I think with the 2 is there's no forehand advantage at all. 3. Barely, because you really can't even throw a drive to a place where a forehand can attack. 4, it's not bad, but old 4 was way more forehand friendly. So no, I would say definitely less, but that's not a bad thing. It's just different.
Okay, so you would not like.
I'm not making a judgment on the entire course. That's hard to do. That would take me too long. I can't run through the whole thing, but it's less forehand friendly than it has been in the past, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Nate. Welcome back here. We have Simon Lizotte, our champion, just a couple short weekends ago at MVP. Congratulations on that again.
Thanks.
Simon, what did you do to celebrate MVP championship?
Oh, it's been absolutely busy weeks at home since then, and just taking care of my son and wife, taking care of the house, trying to get the YouTube channel back up and running, and trying not to get too rusty and throwing myself for this upcoming 2 weeks.
Well, I have 2 questions that come out of that before I pass it on. Was there any time for practice at home? And then did you have time for practice here?
I mean, define practice. Sure.
Were you throwing shots or challenging your golf game?
I was enjoying life, and I played 1 round. It wasn't practice, though. It was more about fun.
All right. Well, I think that that's really important to share with the public. Where is your priority and your focus? Being here at Winthrop, you obviously want to find yourself on top of the podium, and do you feel good enough to place in that performance?
Well, in the last 9 years of me playing this tournament, I've been on lead cards and I've been on last cards, so I've been all over the leaderboard here, consistently more towards the bottom, but who knows? This year has been crazy, and I am ready to just let it happen. No plans.
All right, no plans. That might take out my last question before I pass it off. It was about the practice plan, being very aggressive or holding back at the time when you know you might need to lay up. Any of that coming into the notes?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple changes again here on the course, which has made the course a lot harder in my opinion. I'm not sure if that will play to my advantage or not. I just landed actually a couple hours ago, and I got my first look around, and I mean, 2 of the 4 tournaments I won this year, I also arrived the day before the tournament, so it can work. But all in all, I have had thoughts of maybe I should just play super safe, like totally out of character kind of shots, just to see what will happen. But after my couple shots out here today, it's just too tempting to freaking attack this course, and I think I might have to attack, but we'll see. I'll see how it feels tomorrow.
Thank you so much for sharing, and good luck this weekend. Here's Grant.
Thank you.
Hi, Simon. You've been in the game a long time. You've been at the top of the game a long time. And yet when you win, as you've done multiple times this year, somehow your expression is often one of almost disbelief. Can you explain the emotions that you feel as you come out victorious?
Well, this year has just been so crazy. I've explained it in a couple interviews already, but all of my 4 wins were just kind of out of nowhere and just crazy. Like, OTB was my first win in over 3 years, and then Portland, Garrett Gerthy should have won and made a huge mistake on the last hole. And there was a crazy playoff in Des Moines, and then Maple Hill from the chase card, which I've never done in my entire career. And also until the last moment, it didn't look like I was actually going to win without at least a playoff. So every tournament was just like, what just happened? Like, it honestly didn't really feel real. And it didn't even feel like I won those tournaments in a way, because it was just so insane.
You talk a great deal about having fun. You look like you're having fun. Even right now in the middle of a press conference, you look like you're having fun, which is saying something. Is there an intensity underneath that other people just can't see, but you feel it and you work from it?
Playing for the win is one of the most stressful things I've ever done. If you're in contention coming on the stretch last 9 holes, my heart rate's constantly up. I'm nervous. Sometimes I even feel my legs shaking a bit. So there's definitely a lot going on inside my brain and with my body during those times. It's very stressful, and I don't really enjoy it. Sometimes I would rather just be on 10th card and just having a good time playing Frisbee. But of course, no, I try to be out there. But at every time after a final round where I was in contention, I'm just so mentally done and need a break after that. I don't know. Quick thing. On Maple Hill final round, I didn't check scores until hole 13. And as I opened my phone, I was kind of hoping, please don't be on top. Like, I really didn't want to be on top, because then I knew I was going to be super stressed for the rest of the round. And I opened my phone and I was tied for the lead. And I was like, oh, here we go again. Stress for the next 2 hours. Can't handle it, but it ended up being a good thing.
Do you feel personally, though, intense? Like, I want to win. I want to take down my competitor who I'm looking eye to eye with. Do you feel like that kind of a killer instinct, as they say? Or are you just playing inside your own head?
I think when it comes down to the actual battle at the end of a tournament, yes. Going into tournaments, not really. I more just want to play well, and if it comes down to the last holes in the battle, I will definitely get into that mindset. But I definitely don't enter rounds really thinking like, I want to win, I want to crush everyone. It's more like, I want to play well, and if that puts me on top, that's a bonus.
Nice.
Hello, Simon.
Hi.
A couple of questions for you. First one, on Monday, Paul McBeth mentioned in the Monday preview show that he picked you as someone that's going to show out this week.
What does show out mean? Play good?
I suppose it means play pretty good. He says Nate Sexton won his USDGC title when he had a child, and now that you have a child, he thinks this is the tournament for you, and he chose you. Do you feel like pretty well versed on this track?
I wish I didn't know that Paul said that. Now I'm going to think about that too. I mean, historically, I can only look at my past performances here, and they have been really bad. So based on that, I feel great.
Now that the laughter in the studio has subsided, I'm just going to have to say, Simon, good luck this week. Enjoy yourself. I know you just got into town, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you, Brian.
Well, Simon, I'm going to now follow that up with, Paul said something, but just a few minutes ago, Paige Pierce said something, and your name also came up. So
What?
I've got more for you. Yeah, I know. She talked about Simon line. She talked about having fun, and she even said, I feel like there's been times recently where I've sacrificed my score for having fun or throwing the fun shot. And here, it feels like we're seeing the opposite from you. So do you need to have a conversation with Paige Pierce and maybe switch her mind back to going to the tried and true shots? Because it seems to be working for you.
Well, I think Simon Line is a good brand name, and I should make a business out of it.
Talk to our friends at Sunstein. Yes, that would be a good start. But yeah, she said she talked specifically about the 8 holes, wowing the crowd at Maple Hill on hole number 8. She gave away a ton of strokes, triple bogeys, double bogeys, and she was trying to go for the putt from the drop zone. She was trying to be a showman, a showwoman. That's stuff that you've really embraced, but this year you're scaling back, and it's given you success. So, would you share some of that advice with Paige? Would you tell her to switch it up?
I don't think I have any place to tell Paige what to do. She's won way more events than me. She's way greater than I will ever achieve in disc golf. So she knows exactly what she's doing, and maybe she's just having a fun year. That's fine. I want a fun year.
All right. Well, you've been having one hell of a year with 4 victories so far. We wish you the best of luck. Oh, it sounds like we've got one more coming from Mo. Here you go.
Yes.
So, Simon, the Player of the Year race right now in MPO is super, super close. Ricky's got his 4 wins. Paul has his world title. You have your 4 wins. Do you feel like a win here at the United States Championship would kind of separate you as the kind of the favorite for Player of the Year?
Yeah, Player of the Year is honestly a title I would love more than pretty much any other title except for a world title in disc golf, because I've won the European Player of the Year multiple times. So having the Player of the Year next to that trophy will be a first in disc golf and would feel really special and really cool. And I think if I win this week, obviously that puts me in pretty nice contention, and then a good performance at the Pro Tour Finals also, then I don't know, I might deserve it. I don't know. Inconsistent year a bit, but a lot of highlights.
Yeah, and how do you think that measures up compared to like a world championship from Paul or Ricky? Ricky also has like the same 4. Ricky also has the 4 wins. Like, how do you think your season stacks up to, like, if you're making your case to voters?
I honestly don't know all the numbers that go into deciding who's Player of the Year, but I think they should switch it up. Paul's won it many times. Ricky's probably won it many times. So why not switch it up?
That's as good an argument as any.
Right.
All right. Thanks, Simon. That's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you.
This is a treat. We are joined now by the Executive Director and Assistant Director of the Disc Golf Hall of Fame, talking about Andy Young and George Sappenfield. Some would say you are here in a place where you belong at USDGC. What is it that you all are doing here this week representing the Hall of Fame?
Well, we are here this week to expand the awareness of the Disc Golf Hall of Fame. I'd like to start by letting you guys know that George and I are members of the Disc Golf Hall of Fame, and we were inducted together in 2018. It was also the first time that we ever met each other and realized at that point, between his background and my background, we kind of cover the entire spectrum of disc golf from the very beginning until right now, the very current.
Yeah. My time with disc golf started in 1965. So, and then I was blessed to go through the emergence of Frisbee going from a toy to a sporting goods item. But back in my early days, instead of asking your PDGA number, you were asked your IFA number, International Frisbee Association. And my IFA number is 209. My PDGA number is 376. So I guess I'm earlier on the IFA side, but no, that's the beauty of what Andy and I bring to the Hall of Fame, is that my experience started back then and carried all the way through till the early 80s, which is when disc golf got serious.
Mm-hmm. And when I started.
And when that's when Andy's career started. But for disc golf to have come to what it is now, there's three things that had to happen. One, you had to have a course that was not trees and not light poles, but a specifically designed course. That's what I did and Jim Palmieri did. All right. Next thing, we needed to have a permanent target. That's where Ed Hedrick came in, designed the pole hole in the basket, which is 1976. And then you had to have a specific disc to throw, which that came in the early 80s, and so it's been a great growing thing to watch. And then that's when Andy takes over.
Yeah, and ironically, I started playing in 1981, joined the PDGA in 1982. There was only one disc to play disc golf with then. It was the Moonlighter. The Whammo, so that played right into where he left off, and it became my entire life for the last 40 plus years at this point. And then in 2018, there we find ourselves being inducted into the Hall of Fame together and meeting for the first time, and it was just electric when we met. And at that time, Speedy was still the administrator, and he kind of asked me a year in or so, I'm kind of looking to step back from this. Will you kind of be interested? And I said maybe, and then I said, George, what are you doing? I'm not doing this without you. And so we took it over in the end of 2019, and we came into our first year together, 2020, and we had a pandemic. So yeah, we pulled off the election just fine, and then everything was canceled. Everything, as you all know. Mm-hmm. And we're deep into the summer, and we're trying to figure out how. The first time we elected 5 members that year, international class, and we're looking at each other, going, how can we honor them at this point? Everything had been canceled, but then one event showed back up, was going to be held, and it was called the USDGC. Mm-hmm. So on a wing and a prayer, I kind of picked up the keyboard and wrote a little note to Jonathan Poole and said, hey, Jonathan, what would you think if we came and kind of inducted this year's class there? And he said, y'all come. And we did.
And now you're back.
And now we're back, right?
Outside of being able to name maybe a handful of inductees, legendary players, what are some things that the casual observer might not know about the Disc Golf Hall of Fame? Perhaps its structure?
The Disc Golf Hall of Fame, number one, is not the PDGA Disc Golf Hall of Fame. We have a fantastic relationship with the PDGA, but it is actually an independent entity. It always has been. When Levon Wolf established it in 1993, it was its own entity. It has partnered with the PDGA for all these years. Together they house the plaques for the Disc Golf Hall of Fame currently, and so that is a very much the first misunderstanding that people, they call it the PDGA Disc Golf Hall of Fame, and granted, we love our PDGA. It's our grassroots too. But actually, it's its own entity.
Right.
What are some future plans in store for us coming out of the Disc Golf Hall of Fame?
Well, since George and I became the administrators, and then our first year, we took it to a nonprofit. So the Disc Golf Hall of Fame is actually a 501c3 now, and we have goals. We're here today to talk about one of those big announcements. The last 2 years since we did the first year here in 2020, the pandemic year, live broadcast, so with nobody here, we came back last year and did a recorded broadcast right there in the shack in front of, it was the green jacket moment. It was just fantastic. Recorded that one and had a booth presence. It was the first year of the championship village last year. We had the first presence for the Disc Golf Hall of Fame at here, and this year we're back to increase that presence, raise that awareness, and we're also here to
well, I had mentioned earlier that disc golf would not have moved forward without a permanent hole. Okay. We can't move the Disc Golf Hall of Fame forward without a permanent home. So we are announcing today that we are going to do a massive fundraiser to find a permanent home for the Disc Golf Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And our slogan is building the future by honoring the past. So that's what we're going to do. That's why we're here. And we're just going to make this thing grow and grow and grow. Because right now we've got 99 members in the Disc Golf Hall of Fame. And they are competitors, they're contributors, they're a variety of people who have made this what it is. Without their input, and there's many, many more that, eventually, hopefully, we'll get into the Hall of Fame. But we want it to be a first-class, interactive home for the Hall of Fame.
Do you have any specifics that you're looking for in that home in terms of its location, its size, other amenities that might be in conjunction with, say, a building?
It's going to have a little bit of everything.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to, it will have, when we say interactive, we mean interactive. That when you go in there, it's going to be state-of-the-art technology. We will have a room where we can do conferences, teach classes, whatever, possibly an indoor putting area.
Courses.
3 courses. And and we're open to suggestions on what it should be, but we want it to be a destination for people to explore and learn about disc golf.
I'm so excited. What kind of timeline are we looking at here?
Well, how much money do you have?
Yeah. Here's Terry. He's got a few questions for you as well.
Real quick, first of all, thank you to you both, George and Andy. This year, we have had Hall of Fame representation at all of our press conferences. It's been incredible. I think we're helping spread that awareness of the Hall of Fame and everything that you guys have been doing. My question to that would be, with the people that we've seen who are maybe a little more vocal and active, and some who have been away from the scene for a few years, what's been the feedback that you guys have received from our interviewees who we've talked to, on any one of what has been some of the feedback that they've given?
It's It's been so enlightening from to hear their local regions and the stories that they've told. And oh my God, I got Ted Smithers out. We got Ted out. That brought his computer. That was phenomenal. And Brian Graham at the Champions Cup, telling the history, the story of being the director there and planting all the seeds of where they were just standing. And then we had like Fred Salas. We got him. We pulled him out to tell, and he was Idlewild. The design, all of that. And at first, some of them were funny. They were like, "Well, I don't do good on camera." And it's, well, no, this is going to be fun. You get to tell your story. And so every single one of them have been super special, and it's been so much fun to partner with the Disc Golf Network and for them to allow these stories to come out and be told. So it's been very positive.
And I think the other part too is people that have heard those interviews, it's clicked in their mind, wow, there's a lot of stuff that went on before I started playing. So.
Yeah, I couldn't say it's been fulfilling and so enriching to be there for a lot of these interviews, talking to a lot of our Hall of Fame members throughout the year. So thank you guys for everything that you've been doing. Let's get one plug in. You just mentioned the new initiative. How do they support? How do they go out and help make this a reality, the new place?
We have a couple of platforms set up currently. We are on, if you shop, and if you shop Amazon, just put us in for your Amazon Smile charity, and we will receive support there. There is a corporate fundraising platform called Benevity, and this would be something that would come through your corporation, so you need to check with your corporate. They do a matching type of underwriting there. We are working on some other things as well, but we also have a direct QR code right here, and you can just click that and go directly to PayPal and make a donation.
All right, and also on the 7th, we're going to have another live broadcast here for the Hall of Fame. We want to make sure everybody checks that out on the Disc Golf Network.
Yeah, it's not a live. It's recorded.
It's our induction ceremony.
That's when it'll be released.
Ceremony.
Okay,
yeah.
7 o'clock on the 7th, November 7th. All right.
Yeah.
As you guys said, building the future by honoring the past. Thank you for joining us, and that concludes everything here at the USDGC press conference. We'll see you guys for the live show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.